Hello and welcome to Odds on Champions League playoff second leg. We are going to know the teams qualify for the last 16 round, and we hope to give you also some good tips as we did last week, by the way. And we have Tom, Rennie. Hello, Tom. We have Alain, Valnegri to analyze every single game. Who knows? Is Qarabag going to come back at St. James's Park? 6-0 could be. And we have the biggest surprise ever in the Champions League. I don't think so, but still there is some money to be made with big favorites for this second leg. So stay with us. You are going to find out what to bet on. And of course, let me know in the comments what you think. And now let's go on with the show. And we are going to start at the Metropolitano. Strange time is the early kickoff. People are still working in the office in Madrid. Cholo Simeone was not happy because of the time. So let's see the atmosphere of the Metropolitano, because this team needs indeed the support of the fans. They are much better when they are playing at home. They beat Espanyol 4-2 at the weekend. Sorloth was the best player, and they should have finished also this tie in Belgium, but once again they concede just too many goals. This is not the Atleticos that we are used to see under Cholo Simeone. They just concede too much. So Bruges with some options, very slim, I guess. Tom, they lost away to Sporting Bayern and Atalanta. The only win was against Khairat Almaty. So despite all the issues of Atletico de Madrid, it should be a disaster if they let this tie get lost at the Metropolitano.
Yeah, I mean, they're big favourites for a reason, because of the Brugge away record you've mentioned, but also fantastic record at the Wanda during the Champions League, and in general in the league this season they've been pretty good as well. I hadn't realised that about the kickoff time. That's really interesting. It's such a... One of the most frustrating things about football in the modern world is that no one has thought, what time do people finish work in Madrid, and should we not play a game when people are still in the office? That's just so frustrating. I want to watch this on TV in London, yeah, but I feel like people in Madrid should be able to go. Call me old-fashioned. That's really annoyed me. But in terms of the team, the first leg was chaotic, and I think Club Brugge played really, really well. But what was important in that game is they didn't lose the match in terms of bringing this to 3-3. That late goal from Zolis was at 90th minute, just made this slightly more interesting. At 3-2, I think if Brugge have to come out from the start, I think you can clearly see Atleti go onto a quite smooth victory. So that late goal, which you can tell really annoyed Simeone at the time, I think has brought this game back into the balance a bit. It means that Atleti, I think, will be a little bit more conservative than maybe they would have been if they were 3-2 up. There's going to be less space in behind. I think we're going to get kind of a less fun game because of that late goal from Club Brugge, who are pretty solid defensively, all told. Domestically, I know it's a kind of different world to play in Champions League, but a couple of clean sheets in the last 5. Got some decent defenders in there. I think the number 4 centre-half, is it 𝐻𝐿𝐴? I think he's going to be like one of the next big 50, 60 million pound sales from this very, very young, as ever, Club Brugge team. So, look, I think it's going to be a much more even game than many people would expect. I don't see a 3-3, but I do see Atleti going on to win it. Lookman's come in and given fantastic energy. Julian Alvarez, one of the best players in European football. We'll see where he ends up in the summer if they can't work that relationship out. Griezmann still has some magic to give. So I'd favour Atleti, not by a wild scoreline. I do think both teams will score. Screams 2-1 to me. Atleti to win and both teams to score is 2.5, which I think is quite nice. I would look under 3.5 goals. So again, 2-1 is the score I fancy. Find a way to work around that. And in terms of players, 2 stars for Atleti. 1 is Lookman. I'll pip for Alvarez. Anytime him, 1.83. Add that to an Atleti win and you'll make some money, I think.
Well, they have the experience of the game against Bodo Glimt. Alain, they couldn't score an early goal. They missed many chances. Bodo Glimt took their chances and they ended up losing. So it's a good warning sign. This is a knockout game with the magic of the Metropolitano. So it shouldn't happen again.
Yes, in my opinion, it was an accident against Bodo Glimt. They undervalue the Norwegian team. Right now, Atletico Madrid is a cup team, because in Liga they don't have any option to fight for the Liga to win the title, and they have the Copa del Rey and the Champions. The Champions is the last trophy about miss in Simeone pocket right now, and probably is the last season with Simeone in the bench in Atletico. And that one we can add that mix. I think the motivation will be really high, and we saw that in Bruges. In Bruges, not a lot of teams are able to score 3 goals in the field of Bruges this season. The biggest team in Europe suffer in Bruges, and for this game, 𝐬𝐿𝐴 is the balance in the midfield in Bruges and is sent off, and that one is an important missing for Bruges. Bruges away, Tom said the record is bad in Champions League, is bad in Jupiler Pro League. Right now, Bruges is third in his own local league, and it's for that reason, because they lose a lot of points when they played away. Atletico really favorite, but I choose Lookman score a goal in the game, because since the beginning of since he arrived in Atletico, we see what they miss Atletico, no? The striker between the lines, and the striker really able in transition, and we know him from Atalanta. Lookman score odds 2.25.
2-1 could be a good result indeed. Atletico Madrid to score 2-1, 3-1 or 4-1, or 𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻, Atletico to win and both teams to score. This is a team that concedes goals, a tough one, but Atletico to win with a narrow victory. 𝐿𝐭𝐚𝐲 is telling us, well, our smart bet tool is surprising us when with 𝑋2 double chance. For Brugge, a bit unlikely, in my opinion. Odds are 3.35. Atletico really favorite for this game. There you go. What our smart bet tool is showing us. Then a tie that is over. Leverkusen Olympiacos 2-0. In Greece, Patrick Schick scored a very good goal, and well, it's almost over. The team lost, by the way, in the Bundesliga the weekend in Berlin. It's going to be very difficult for them to play Champions League football again next week. Leverkusen Olympiacos, Alain, perhaps here is not a bad idea going for goals, since Olympiacos, they need to attack. We saw them playing some offensive football at the beginning of the season, especially in Europe, not in the last games, but there is nothing to lose, of course, for Olympiacos.
Yes, Olympiacos, in the idea, Olympiacos feel comfortable against a team like by Leverkusen. Leverkusen want the possession, is a team with offensive ambition. Clearly, is in the history of Leverkusen, is the philosophy of the play. But in Athens, we saw a lot of difference about the detail, about the accurate in the pass, in the accurate about the finalization, because Olympiacos shoot 3 times more than Leverkusen, but only 1 time in the target. In change, Leverkusen have 80% the shoot in the target, and yes, they dominate. I think we can't start a debate about the option of Olympiacos, because Olympiacos is limited in the creativity. Imagine Olympiacos start to need to do the game in Leverkusen. It will be a suicide, because Leverkusen in transition is a fast team with a lot of quality. They show the goal, in my opinion, against Union Berlin. It was an accident, because Ullmann do a lot of turnover, five player out respect to the game in Olympiacos, and yes, it's super a really direct team like Union Berlin football, really physical, and yes, Olympiacos really favorite for me. I choose Olympiacos winning odds 1.83.
Olympiacos, no, Leverkusen.
Leverkusen, sorry, yeah, Leverkusen.
Actually, Leverkusen, the odds are pretty good, Tom. After winning away, we know also Greek teams suffering when they play away from home. There is a gap in quality between these two teams, even if, as I said before, in this Champions League, they tried to attack against Barcelona or Real Madrid, for instance, and they ended up conceding so many goals.
Well, look, Olympiacos, I thought, tried to attack in the first leg, and they had, 13, 14 shots on goal. The trouble is they couldn't hit a cow's ass with a banjo, and that's the big trouble if you're in the Champions League. The difference between effort and quality is being a Champions League player and not, and they don't have Champions League quality, Olympiacos. It's as simple as that. 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐵's all right, 𝗀𝗵's all right, Martins is all right, and I'm sure it's fantastic in the league in Greece, but Bayer Leverkusen is a huge step up for them, despite Leverkusen's poor performance against Union at the weekend, as Alain referred to. They just weren't ready for the physicality there. They ain't going to get that here. And I think Leverkusen, the only doubt that anyone will have here is whether Leverkusen take their eye off the ball, because they are through in this tie at 2-0. And if they concede a goal, I expect Leverkusen to be able to go up through the gears. Patrick Schick got rested the weekend. I think one or two others might have done as well to make sure they get through in the Champions League, because the league season has been so indifferent. So that's the only element of doubt. But I think Leverkusen will go as strong as they possibly can. I think they'll be confident and comfortable and win this. So 1.83 to win, I think that's fair enough. Going off Olympiacos' poor finishing in the first leg, I'd take Leverkusen to win to 0 at a really healthy 3.5, I think. If Leverkusen scored the first goal here, Olympiacos, I think, will just shut up shop and look to go home. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 as a group bet is 4, and he scored 2 in the first leg, so why not another one here? He was rested at the weekend from the start. He came on around about the hour against Union. Patrick Schick, anytime at 2.1. Add that to a Leverkusen win, that doubles your money.
Good odds indeed to back Leverkusen. Levi, 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐵, Pedro, Lucas, all going for Leverkusen to win. Also, Carbon, Aaron, 1x and under 3.5 goals. Leverkusen will defend the 2-goal advantage. And at this time, I think we are all looking at San Siro. It's the best game we have on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Inter, Bodo Glimt, remember, 3-1 in Norway. And despite the result, the bookies are placing Inter as favorites to qualify. The odds are 1.8. Inter to qualify, 1.96. Bodo Glimt to qualify. So perhaps there you have value if you trust the Norwegian team. Remember, they beat Atletico de Madrid in the last away game, and I wouldn't say it was an accident, Tom. I think there is a lot of quality in this Bodo Glimt. They really play well. They know how to attack and punish the mistakes made by Inter defense, and this Inter, okay, they are going to win the title in the Serie A, but they are leaky. They lack confidence, in my opinion, in big games. And I wouldn't discard here Bodo Glimt getting a result and qualifying.
This is a nasty, nasty little game for us to bet on, for Inter to play, because Bodo Glimt has shown us time and time again this season. You mentioned the Atleti game, but certainly at home this season, and certainly in the first leg of this tie, they've got some really good players, like you've mentioned. I think 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐵 and 𝐿𝐵 up front are players that are going to get moves to big European clubs. I think they've got a manager in Kjetil Knutsen who is able to take young talent, develop it, and now they'll hope to fatten them up to sell. And they've got a lot of players here that have got eyes on them from across Europe. So I'd expect a big performance here. And of course, it's always worth noting with Bodo Glimt, they're in kind of close season right now. They're only playing Champions League football. So no one's lifted a finger since the last game, the last leg on the 18th of February. So they've had a full week off, whereas Inter, of course, played Serie A, was at Lecce at the weekend. So that all comes together to suggest it could be a nasty match. But even despite the fact that I think a lot of the Bodo Glimt players have impressed us, and I've mentioned already, I think a few will get some really big moves to big European clubs, you've still got to back into here. Like, you just have to. I think 𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐵, I think he was at Spezia last season. Now he's at Inter, looks fantastic, looks a really, really good player, really good talent. In the absence of Lautaro Martinez, injured again, he's stepping up to the fore on a regular basis for them. He looks really, really good. The midfield at times looks a bit slow. I think at times the defense looks a bit old. I think there's clear creaking elements of Inter, but this is a side that are used to making semi-finals and finals, huge Champions League pedigree, top of Serie A. They'll be hoping for at least a Final Four berth this season. It's going to be an uphill challenge, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this game go to extra time with Inter winning this 2-0 and this going long into the night. I wouldn't discard something like penalties in this game as well, because I think that Bodo Glimt are an especially well-organized team. If you're looking to make some money here, I was really surprised at this. Inter win 1-0, 2-0, or 3-0 as a group bet is 3.75. Anything over double your money in this game, I think, is really, really interesting. So I would go for that to cover a lot of potential outcomes here. First goal going to be absolutely crucial. If Bodo Glimt get it, obviously that bet is out. Then you go for a big score, because I think it will then become a real kind of basketball match. The first goal is going to be crucial. If it goes to Inter, they win 2-0 and I think get through, maybe an extra time. If it goes to Bodo Glimt, all bets are off, and I would then be looking at Bodo Glimt to win it after extra time again, with Inter scoring a bunch of late goals. If you're looking for players, I love 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐺𝐸. Anytime for him is 1.83.
Going into penalties is not a bad idea. Indeed, Alain, how do you see this one, Inter or Bodo? Would you place your bet back in any of these teams, or looking for something else?
Yeah, but Inter is really favorite. Last week I waited that one that Bodo don't lose at home against Inter. Right now the things are a little different. Playing in San Siro is really difficult. The Inter is one of the biggest goal in these champions for Inter, because in 3 years, 2 final, the team, like Tom said, has pedigree to manage that type of game. Yes, Lautaro is out. That one is not a good news for 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐺𝐸, but he has player to replace him, and it's a responsibility. Inter have Dumfries out since 3 months, and Inter still leader in Serie A. And normally that type of game Inter manage well. Inter suffer in the biggest game. It's not a case this season in Champions League. They lose 2 games against Arsenal and Liverpool, and because they're better team and most competitive, no? But when Inter play against team with a technical general value under his team, normally Inter can win that type of game. And yes, Bodo is a reality. Who are surprised about Bodo don't follow the football in the last season, because they arrived in the last season in semi-final in the Europa League, and in every round we said, okay, Bodo will be out, and until the semi-final, and they're won in Lazio field. After the penalty, they lose the game, but in the penalty, it's true. In 7 games played in Italy, Bodo never won. Only one draw against Roma, but in my opinion, Inter will be start to press really strong. My question is, Bodo is not playing in his own competition, and sometimes with the rhythm, with the management of the key moment, the management of the emotion, maybe you can go in crisis. And in my opinion, Inter will be qualified, and I choose Inter qualify odds 1.83.
All right. Many people trust in Bodo Glimt. Actually, Bodo Glimt odds are crazy. 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐺𝐸 telling us Adnats going for a draw. Inter ain't gonna make it. Come on, you Bodo Glimt. There is, I don't know if it's hatred for Inter or actually people supporting this Bodo Glimt, but it's the Cinderella story. It's not luck. It's just they really played well. They did it against Man City, against Atletico de Madrid, and throughout this Champions League with a lot of quality. However, already 5 goals in this Champions League. Let's see if they can make it and go another step forward in this Champions League, knocking out Inter in a big stadium like San Siro. A smart bet for this game is under 4.5 goals, odds 1.5, although, well, Inter have to attack indeed. They at least need 2 goals to go to extra time. And then, this is for nothing, the last game, Newcastle Qarabag, well, for nothing, or perhaps for Anthony Gordon to score more goals. They destroyed Qarabag. It was 6-1. It could have been 8-9 or whatever they wanted. In the Premier League, they are not going to get into the European spots. So now it's about the Champions League, of course, for Newcastle. Alain, Qarabag also conceded 6 in their last trip to England. I guess it's about how serious Newcastle are going to take this game, but they don't play Champions League every year. So I guess it's a good opportunity to give a good show to their fans.
Yes, it was one of my biggest mistakes last week because I chose double chance Qarabag. But
they were dreadful.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I said every time I must to speak about Newcastle. Newcastle is one of the team I prefer to watch when Newcastle is the Newcastle to hope, in the sense of the intense Newcastle with high pressure, with aggressivity, with direct football. Is wonderful to watch Newcastle. But the problem is the energy is limited, and when Newcastle play in Europe is always the same. Is difficult in Premier League, is difficult in League Cup, in FA Cup. The draw is playing against Manchester City, and probably there will be out. And what keep for Newcastle right now? What is the objective? Is make more money in Champions League, and he prepared really well the game in Qarabag. We saw the best version, the deluxe version of Newcastle against a Qarabag. Maybe in Qarabag that are searching for that type of football, the intensity, because we must to admit Qarabag since the beginning of the season is probably the biggest surprise with Bodo Glimt in Champions League, but more than Bodo Glimt because they don't have any experience and they catch brilliant results, but without competition, without the risk, and probably there wait another Newcastle. And there was Spanish, and Newcastle, since the end of the season in Champions League, in my opinion, nobody want to meet Newcastle because they're known that in one day Newcastle can be competitive with any team in Europe. And but for this game, in my opinion, Newcastle will be a little not so much concentrate and give space to Qarabag, and I choose the both team to score. The odds is interesting. Odds 2.12.
Anthony Gordon, 10 goals in the Champions League. Tom, I guess the big question is if Newcastle want to score many goals or just rest players.
Yeah, I mean, the trouble with Newcastle resting players is that the second team is all injured. There's no Botman, there's no Kraft, there's no 𝐬𝐭𝐴, there's no Livramento, Bruno Guimaraes, Miley, 𝗀𝗏, one or two others from the weekend maybe. So there ain't a great deal of rotation that Eddie Howe can do. I'd expect someone like Aaron Ramsdale to play, the sub-keeper, and give Nick Pope a break. But beyond that, it's going to be more or less the team that we saw against Man City at the weekend, which is the only problem here for Newcastle. Look, Qarabag was so poor last week. This tie is totally over. I think for Newcastle, I completely take Alain's point. It's only Champions League and an FA Cup to play for this season for Newcastle from this point. But I also think that the hierarchy at Newcastle won't accept they're out of the European challenge, even though they kind of seem like they are. They'll expect them to go on a tear in the league and win 9 of 11 and make the Champions League. Otherwise, Eddie Howe is looking for a new job next season. So I do think on that score, they might not be able to change a great deal of playing staff this weekend or this midweek for the weekend, but I do think that they will take their foot off the gas. So I don't think this is going to be as thrilling as last week. I don't see it being 4-5, 6-0. I see nothing in Qarabag to suggest they can get back in this game at all. So I'm weirdly going to look at the under here. I think Newcastle might score 1, shut up shop, everyone goes home, cheap ticket prices, everyone has a nice day out, and they kind of accept this is already won. I'd be amazed if any Newcastle player sprints in this game, unless Qarabag weirdly go 3-0 up, because why would they? So Newcastle winning under 3.5 in the match is 2.63. I think it's all right. I'd be quite bold here if you're going to bet on this game. Newcastle winning under 2.5 goals in the match is 5, which seems crazy to me. It just screams 1 or 2-0 Newcastle, and everyone gets the early bus home. And you mentioned Gordon. He's going to play because, again, no 𝗀𝗏. 𝐿𝐵𝗏𝗏 won't go forward again. They want that pace in behind. Any time for him is 1.73. Add that to a Newcastle win. That's just about double your money. But an uneventful 2-0 win for Newcastle, I'd say.
Of course, this is over. Anthony Gordon, anytime goal scorer, 𝐿𝐵𝗏𝗏, Levy, Newcastle to win, and both teams to score. Qarabag wants to end their Champions League with a goal. Well, they've already achieved a great thing, of course, getting into these playoffs, but this is over for the 𝐬𝐭𝐴Z𝐵 team. And for Wednesday, 4 games, Atalanta, Borussia Dortmund is the early kickoff. Great game. This one, I was really disappointed by the game played by Atalanta in Germany, 2-0. Not much shown from Atalanta. 𝐵𝗏𝗏 that is showing a lot of good things with the new manager. We saw it against Napoli. Even if they conceded in the first minute, they were able, in the first half, they were able to come back last Sunday. And even in Europe, they were all right at the beginning of the season. But again, disappointing against Dortmund, against Athletic. At home, Tom, in Europe, they don't get great results. Dortmund have much better pedigree, so it's going to be very difficult for Atalanta to turn this around.
Yeah, it was an awful result at Signal Iduna Park last week for Atalanta, or whatever we have to call it in the Champions League. I think that this is not a vintage Dortmund by any stretch of the imagination. They concede goals. 𝐵𝗏𝗏's been terrible up front this season compared to the last campaign. They're not scoring many. They concede too many. They're pretty slow in midfield. There's loads of problems for Niko Kovac's Dortmund. And so I thought that loss last week was catastrophic. And you mentioned it there, the performance against Napoli at the weekend. They're a side that can score goals. They're a side that can thrill. They're a side that have got incredible energy, Pasalic and still Darun. And I thought taking 𝐋𝐞𝐿 out of the team for the weekend game against Napoli made a big difference. I like 𝐋𝐞𝐿, but with the injuries that he's had, he can't play 2 games in a week. I wonder if he comes back in for the Champions League game, considering they look better without him, I thought, for an hour or so at the weekend against Napoli. Look, I think this might be too much of a hill to climb, though I do think the first goal is going to be absolutely crucial. If Atalanta get it, we're very much game on. If they don't, I think Dortmund could go on and win this reasonably convincingly. A lot of players got to come somewhere near their best form. We've not seen the best of anybody, I don't think, for Dortmund this season. Bellingham, Brandt, anyone. I mentioned 𝗀𝗏𝗏 already. I think there's a lot of guys that need to prove they want to be Dortmund players. And Dortmund are in that weird space as well, where they're not the team they once were, and they're not feeding clubs players like they used to, and they're overpaying for players too. They've been kind of mismanaged for 2 or 3 years, Borussia Dortmund, so they're in a really interesting space. If they get through in this tie, which I'd expect them to do from this point, that Champions League money from the next phase comes in. Maybe there's a decent rebuild coming up in the summer with a couple of smart signings and significant sales. But look, in terms of this game, I think both teams will score. I would probably pick Atalanta to win the game, but Dortmund to go through in the tie. Atalanta win and both teams to score is a really healthy 4. I do think Atalanta get 1. I mentioned the goal threat that Dortmund have. Spacing behind with Atalanta winning 1-0. Dortmund are a team that could take advantage of that. And I also found a really interesting little group bet here. In the 90, Atalanta win 2-1, 3-1, or 4-1. I think it's going to be a fun game, this. Comes in at a really healthy 5.5. Bit of a wild bet, I know, but I can see this being goals at both ends. Certainly Dortmund scoring 1, but Atalanta winning on the night.
Atalanta to qualify is 5, so the bookies almost don't give any option to the Italian team. Alain, by the way, the winner of this tie goes to Arsenal or Bayern Munich, so I think it's also game over for Dortmund, since they haven't been great this season. But, well, step by step. Alain, any chance for Atalanta here?
There will be fights. Atalanta at home is a team can be win every game. We saw the black cat at home for Atalanta is Inter, and except Inter, they beat every team at home in the last five seasons. And yes, it's difficult to understand what happened in Dortmund in the first half, because we don't see the normal Atalanta. And in the second half, they don't have that Atalanta spirit to be rebel. And we saw a shy team, a really shy team. Against Napoli, we still to see that in the first half, and I don't know what happened during the break time, because in the second half the team was totally different. It's true, Raspadori and 𝐻𝐿 are out. There is lack creativity. It's important to remind that Lookman leave, and in that line, in that attacking position line, in my opinion, there is something. In like strikers, 𝐿𝐭𝐴 is always with a physical problem. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 maybe is a little limited for the high level, and yes, but in the collective analysis, Atalanta will be try. Atalanta will be try. Is a sincerely team. Is a team want to go forward. In the last 7 games, Atalanta score in every first half. We saw goals in Bergamo. With Dortmund, maybe in the last season, Dortmund with the defense was more denser. Right now is a solid team. We saw Dortmund learn to win 1-0 game away, and it's a critical. In Dortmund, the fans of Dortmund said, but we don't want to see that conservative way to play football. But we have best results. We have is a balanced team. In my opinion, is a team can manage that type of a game. Probably Dortmund will be scored in Bergamo, and that one mean Atalanta must to score 3 times. I am not sure Atalanta is able to score 4 goals to this Borussia Dortmund. In spite of that, I wait a really strong first half, and I choose over 1.75 goals in the first half, odds 3.13.
Okay, really high odds. Dortmund this season in the Champions League away defeats against Man City and Tottenham. This one playing really bad, and already traveled to Italy and conceded 4 in a crazy game with Juventus at the beginning of the season. We have David telling us 1x and both teams to score. Ray, for me, this is an under 3.5 goals. 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜𝐭𝐞𝐝 also going for both teams to score here. 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐧𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵, Levy, many people here going for both teams to score. Our smart bet tool is predicting Borussia Dortmund to win. Is 3.35. As I said before, the bookies don't expect a comeback here. Is paid 5. Atalanta to win the tie. The winner goes to Arsenal or Bayern Munich, so I think it's goodbye for any of them. But anyway, let's see who is going through. Next game, Juventus Galatasaray. I guess also not many options to this Juventus. They've been pitiful in the last weeks. Di Gregorio is not stopping even a taxi. What a pitiful goalkeeper. So poor in the last games. Stupid defensive mistakes. You think about Juventus and you think about defense. The BBC, Buffon, and even if we go back, Perucci or whatever, all our lives seeing Juventus defending well, Alain, and this is a circus. This is a circus team. The team improved with Spalletti, but that is gone. I don't know what happened. This team is disconnected, and I wouldn't touch even Juventus to win in this game. Is 1.5. I don't see anything to trust Juventus, even if we know how Turkish teams suffer when they travel, but they are just crap at the moment.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's a really strange season for Juve, because yes, in January everybody said Juventus is back, Juventus is strong, Juventus has a clearly identity of play, winning against Napoli 3-0 at home, in Parma 4-1, and after February start and the team disappeared, and February is the most delicate month for Juve. Maybe the player go to Carnival, or I don't know what happened, but something is happened, because in the last 5 games, 4 defeat and 1 draw. I don't remember a bad record like that in Juventus, a bad streak like that in biggest game, because against Como is a big game in Italy. Nobody knows, but yes, is a big game right now. And out of Italian Cup, now is in danger to the Champions League spot for the next season. And the feeling is really bad, because in Galatasaray you received 5 goals in the second half. You was winning 1-2, and you received 4 goals. Wow, something is totally disconnect in the vestiary with the manager, because in my opinion Spalletti lose the vestiary. Is the feeling outside. I have right now. I was in the stadium for interview where 10 days ago, and I had that feeling. No, a team can be a rebel until a limit, and they don't have the capacity to manage the draw until the end. Yes, the feeling is bad. The feeling is not so good too with Galatasaray, because Galatasaray right now in Turkey, if Fenerbahce win tonight, Fenerbahce will be leader. And that one is a big news. Because Galatasaray in the last season is dominate the Turkish Super League. The squad is really strong. They lose in Konyaspor in the last journey in Turkey. A lot of turnover, Burak, but I don't know if it's a good choice, because go to Juventus, manage 3 goals right now. The team can be weak. We know that type of game. Juventus score really soon in the game. You put pressure to Galatasaray, and in the history, Turkish team away suffer a lot, and that can be a key. And I wait a Juventus really offensive for this game. Really offensive mean a lot of space to Galatasaray to attack in transition. Osimhen normally when he saw Juventus, he saw goals. And like Atalanta, Borussia Dortmund, I choose over 1.5 goals in the first half. Odds 58.
All right. The problem, Tom, is 𝐿𝐵𝗀𝗀𝗀, 𝐿𝐵𝗀𝗀𝗀, Kalulu, Cambiaso. They are just so poor this season, so poor.
Yeah, I mean, look, the issue with Juventus, I think, is that the caliber of the squad is nowhere near what they should be to play for Juventus, and that's the long tail of the Ronaldo transfer and all of that, which we don't have to litigate here. But like, it's not a particularly strong squad. Spalletti is working with maybe one of the worst and weakest squads he's ever worked with. You mentioned how poor Di Gregorio has been. I mean, they're starting with Lloyd Kelly at centre half. I mean, what are we all smoking? What's going on here? Like, just a perfectly good Bournemouth centre half is now starting for Juventus. It's a really strange squad build they put together. I think 1 or 2 players have been pretty good across the season, 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐸 and McKennie and 1 or 2 others, but the squad isn't good enough. The performance in the first leg of this tie was near catastrophic. It does lead itself to suggest this game is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's worth noting too that even though they lost against Como at the weekend in Serie A, it was their first loss at home in several months. I think it was a 16-match unbeaten run at home or something like that before the loss at the weekend. So in general, they've been pretty good at the Allianz. And this is a tricky one, right? Because I think my mind tells me that Juventus win this game. They don't go through, but they win it by 2-1, 3-1. I think it's going to be hard to overcome a 5-2 deficit from the first leg. So that's kind of the sensible outcome. You can find over 3.5 goals in this match at 2.1. Pick your winner on top. I think you'll make some money. But I do think any team that are over 5 might just be worth a look. Because Gala, I think, have beaten Juve twice this season already. The victory last week wasn't a fluke. They created enough chances to win that game 2 times over. Juventus are conceding goals at the moment. 6 games without a clean sheet. Loads of goal threat at Galatasaray, including the aforementioned Osimhen, but several others too. I do think Gala will score in this game. So maybe pick the Galatasaray win at just under 6 now, I think it is. It was 5.25 this morning. I think it's gone up to 5.89 now. If you are going to take a punt on any game in this match round, it's probably this because of Juve's horrendous form, terrible defensive record, and the score as is. They have to go all out from the first minute. Huge space in behind. And space in behind with Osimhen up front. yeah, good luck with that.
Well, Juventus to qualify pays the same as well, pays 5. So, of course, there is no trust from the bookies on this. Juventus needs to win this. They can afford to pack the bus, as Tyler is telling us. Juventus goals. The problem, as we are saying, is that they are so leaky. Problems at left back. Also, Jack Paddock is telling us Galatasaray X2. We have another comment. Is our smart bet tip also X2 for Juventus, and this pays 2.74. There you go. If you are trusting here, Galatasaray to get something in Torino, very difficult. It's a disaster for Italian teams. For the very first time in history, they might not have a team in the last 16 round of the Champions League if Inter, Atalanta or Juventus are not able to come back. Now the French tie, PSG, Monaco. For a moment, we were thinking we might see a surprise in the Louis II, 2-0 for Monaco with Balogun scoring a brace, but then PSG woke up. Doué was the man of the match. By the way, he also scored at the weekend against Metz, and now is under control for Luis Enrique for this PSG. Still one of the favorite teams, of course, to win this Champions League. Now to beat Monaco is 1.28. I guess, Tom, you can surprise PSG for 40 minutes or for 30 minutes as Monaco did. But the fear is over for PSG, and they should navigate through the last 16 round.
Yeah, look, Monaco can score goals, right? They've got some good goal scorers. They've got some good threat. I like 𝐵𝗲, the American striker. I think he's going to have a big few months ahead, including the World Cup for the US, where I think he'll be the number 9. I've seen Simon Odinga a few times during his Brighton days really dazzle. He's inconsistent, but he's someone that's got a lot of skill and a lot of ability. They've got players who, if the wind strikes the sails right, can get in behind and score goals. And I think they made the first leg way more interesting than we thought it would be. The trouble is, defensively, they are garbage. And that's proven out in the stats. 3 conceded against PSG, 2 against Lens at the weekend. Nantes scored against them. Strasbourg scored 3 against them. And Wout Faes is the centre-half for them. Who'll probably play in this game, I expect. Genuinely one of the worst footballers I've ever seen play the game. Like, just... You know, I just don't understand how he's managed to make a living out of it. Awful for Leicester during his time there. Awful for Leicester in the Championship, never mind his time in the Premier League. And now he's playing a Champions League round of 16 playoff game for Monaco. I don't know. Whoever his agent is, I want them to be my agent. Because the job I would have with my ability, forget about it. Like, just incredible that he's playing centre-half. And he's going to be up against 𝐵𝗲 and Ramos and 𝗔𝗏𝐿𝐴 and whomever else they've got fit. I think 𝗵𝗏𝗏's probably out for this one. I feel like he's always injured this season. So, look, Monaco may well nick a goal in this game, but they cannot defend, and they will not hold out Paris Saint-Germain here, who have got an array of ridiculous goal threats. 3 against Monaco in the first leg, 3 against Metz at the weekend, 5 against Marseille fairly recently, beat Strasbourg by a couple as well. Goals all over. And there will be goals for PSG in this game. They'll win this 1.29, take it. PSG and both teams to score 2.25. As I've mentioned, I do think there's goal threat for Monaco as well. I'd be looking for plenty of goals here. Look at the over 2.5, maybe over 3.5 market. 2-1 to PSG was 9, which I thought was quite nice. Also a nice little group bet of 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. Bundle them together, and I think you'll do well here.
Well, PSG to win doesn't pay too much. Alain, also, you think we could see goals at the Parc des Princes?
Yes, Tom said the defense in Monaco is the biggest problem right now, and Pocognoli search a solution. Now Zakaria play like center defender, and he's a midfield, and he passed to a 3 center line back, but he don't have good results. In Lens, I don't understand what happened, because Lens was winning 2-0, and in 25 minutes, Monaco are able to score 3 goals. The mistake of the goalkeeper of Lens helped them. But against PSG, normally, it is difficult to catch a positive result if you don't know to defend well. And that one is the big problem for Monaco, because in the situation when we analyze the first game between both teams, Monaco was winning 2-0, and their finish received 3 goals. Yes, Golovin was sent off, but at the beginning of the second half, they conceded 30 shots against PSG, and that one is impossible to pretend to have a positive result, in spite of their do a brilliant beginning of the game with a strong transition, and Balogun was on fire with an accuracy nobody have the habit of the Monaco fans. Right now, in the last 10 games in Paris, 7 times was over 3.75 goals, and I choose that odds because Monaco have nothing to lose, will attack, and PSG in Champions is the best version this season in Champions. I choose over 3.75 goals, odds 1.98.
Okay, goals and goals. Our smart bet tool is going for Monaco to score first, as we saw also in the first leg. PSG proved that no matter if they concede first, they can really score plenty of goals. And as Tom said, the threat could come from anywhere. In Monaco was 𝐻𝗲𝗿 coming out from the bench. The winner plays Barcelona or Chelsea, so it could be very interesting to see PSG Chelsea as in the FIFA Club World Cup, or hopefully PSG Barcelona once again. And the last game is Real Madrid Benfica. I guess it's going to be a really hot game after what we saw in 𝐵𝗷 only 1 week ago with Prestiani's allegedly racial abuse to Vinicius. The Argentinian should be on the pitch. Also, the Brazilian, Mourinho, was shown a red card, so we are not going to see Mourinho back at the Bernabeu. And I guess Mourinho, in my opinion, Alain, is going to park the bus and trying to make this game very, very long, get with 0-0 until the second half, and then we can see nerves at the Bernabeu, especially after the bad result we saw again for Real Madrid in La Liga. The tie could have been over in 𝐵𝗷 because I think Real Madrid was better. But now, if we see a nervy game, and in my opinion, Benfica are going to try to play these kind of games, we can see an open tie. What do you expect? Also, by the way, I think the Bernabeu could play a big role in this game after what we saw in the first leg.
But Mourinho known Bernabeu, he will be wait the time, play with the nerve of Bernabeu. Probably Benfica will be play with a low block, really aggressive, to kill the time, to try to kill the rhythm of Real Madrid is probably the strategy. After maybe he surprised us and we see a Benfica with a lot of ambition, initiative, with a high block and high pressure. But I have some doubt. And if we analyze the type of goal Real Madrid received since 𝗵𝗿𝗏 is in the bench, is always in transition. Because with 𝗵𝗿𝗏, we saw an improvement with the ball. The team has more ambition and manage better, in my opinion, the ball. After the relationship with the goal is another analysis. But with the ball, I think Real Madrid improved with 𝗵𝗿𝗏. The technical value of this team is really high. We can't hide that. It's not the best team of the history of Real Madrid. And Real Madrid fans, yes, they have the really good habit, no? But if we analyze the single player, every player plays for his selection, for his national team, and that one is the collective chemical we miss this season. And in my opinion, with 𝗵𝗿𝗏, something better. We saw that. I said that because winning in 𝐵𝗷, like their win the last week, is not so easy. And the Real Madrid with Alonso in the bench don't want that type of game. And yes, now the question is the attitude of Benfica. The question is, Benfica are able to score in Bernabeu. In the last 5 away, there was able only to score in Rio Ave and in Santa Clara. No goals in Tondela, no goals in the Juventus Stadium, and no goals in Oporto for the Portuguese Cup. Difficult to trust in this Benfica. In my opinion, the vestiary of Real Madrid are really upset with Benfica team, with Benfica attitude, with Prestiani, and that we see a really angry version of Real Madrid offensive. I choose Real Madrid winning with 2.5 goals, odds 1.88.
Okay, someone is highlighting Mbappe, Tom, but he's in really poor form at the moment. It looks like he has some knee problems, and we saw a poor version of him in Lisbon and in Pamplona. Perhaps it's better to look at Vinicius. He's been the player of the team in the last weeks, and for sure he's gonna be hungry for this game.
Yeah, I think he scored 8 and 12 or something like that, isn't it? In a recent run or something like that. Vinny Jr. since 𝐵𝗲𝗀 came in. I think that's a different stat, but he's certainly got a decent run since 𝐵𝗲𝗀 came in. I'll search with some of my notes, but the run has been really good. Top scorer under 𝐵𝗲𝗀. Look, I think that the interesting thing about Real Madrid is that I think that 𝐬𝐵𝗲 Alonso evidently overcoached them, and now 𝐵𝗲𝗀 is undercoaching them, and that leads to this incredible group of players being able to deliver when they feel like it, and when they're not as enthused, they play like they did against Osasuna at the weekend and go on to lose it. I don't think there was much of a plan to play Osasuna at the weekend. I think he just went, get out there. You're Real Madrid, aren't you? And sometimes that works. And I think they really felt it in Benfica with the Prestiani story and the vibes of the place and the aggression and the magnitude of the fixture. You saw people like Vinny Jr. with his incredible goal come to the fore. I don't think they gave a toss against Osasuna at the weekend, and that's what you saw from Real Madrid. They are essentially not being coached, I would suggest, at the moment. They just got their nice, kindly uncle 𝐵𝗲𝗀 there, and he's sort of making them feel good about themselves and making them a nice dinner and sending them out and go on. You go be Vinny Jr. And for Vinny, it's working out fantastically well. For others, it's not working particularly well. Here we go. It's 5 in 8 for Vinny Jr. for Real Madrid since 𝐵𝗲𝗀 came in. He looks happier than he did under 𝐬𝐵𝗲 Alonso, who was trying to make him do things he didn't want to do. And that didn't work out in the end. I mean, the defense is interesting. The weekend obviously was very, very poor defensively. It was 𝐿𝐴𝐴ncio and Alaba at centre-half. I guess it would be 𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐿 and Rudiger for this game. I mean, I don't know who it would be, but they've all been pretty poor. Whomever been playing at centre-half for Real Madrid, they've not been good enough. That's the big issue here. Courtois can only bail you out so many times in games. And so that's the only hope for Benfica. We've all watched Jose Mourinho teams for 25 years. So there's not much point in me adding to what Alain said. They're going to do a low block and try it on the counter. Obviously. Because that's what Mourinho has done in every single game of this type we've seen since his hair was black. So it's going to be exactly the same thing. And I don't discount a brilliant defensive performance from Benfica and then potentially scoring and winning in 90 minutes by a 0 and forcing extra time. I wouldn't discount that. But I think it'll be when Real Madrid score one, they go on to win quite comfortably. And this is obviously a massive game for Vinny. One wonders about Mbappe at all, the injury that you've mentioned. I'm not sure that 𝐵𝗲𝗀 is brave enough to drop him, but I certainly think the team is going to be built around Vinny and not Mbappe for the foreseeable. So him anytime is 2.25. That's Vinny Jr. Mbappe anytime is 1.5. I think 2.25 is really surprisingly healthy for Vinny, I've got to say. Madrid win to 0 is 2.88. The trouble is the Mourinho low block. Again, we've seen it for 20 years. When Real Madrid score one, the game is over. The first goal going to be absolutely pivotal in this game. I think it will go to Real Madrid. And when that happens, Real Madrid win to 0. That's 2.88. And I haven't got the odds for this. And I'm sure David might have found it for me, but I was too lazy to look. Red card anytime in this game. I really, really fancy that. A game of ill feeling for obvious, well-documented reasons. And if Benfica are losing by 2-0, it's a Mourinho team. There's going to be monumental head loss in this game. Don't be surprised to see Otamendi and another sent-off in Benfica end with 9 men. And Real Madrid win 3-0. It screams it.
I think Otamendi to be booked is a safe bet in this game. After what we saw in the first leg, someone was saying actually a nervy game and someone to be shown a red card could be a really good option. There you go. We have even by player Otamendi is 2.4 to be booked. Wow, that's really good odds.
Take it.
Exactly. Vinicius to score or Otamendi to be booked. Really, really good. Someone is saying also penalty in favor of Real Madrid.
Oh, yeah.
Could be a good option. 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐸 to get booked, although I don't think he's going to start, by the way. Probably it's going to be Rudiger and someone else. Probably Heisen, Mbappé to score. Cagón is saying Vini to score or assist. Okay, this is going to be a nervy one without Mourinho, probably with... Prestiani and Vinicius. Let's see who is advancing. Man City or Sporting Lisbon are gonna wait in the last 16 round. Who knows if we are gonna see again and again and again Man City, Real Madrid in the Champions League, or we see another tie next week's or next month in March. All right, this is it for our Champions League show, playoffs, second leg. A lot of bets last week. We were really successful, so take notes of what Tom and Alain said. And by the way, of course, you have the chance also to participate in our tipster competitions, chance to win money. Thanks to Oddspedia, it's completely free to participate. There you go. And you can win money. This is for the month of February. And also check out Rivals and create your own tipster league or join these ones that were created. Also, there is some money in the prize pool. All right, Tom, your safe bet?
Safe bet of this round is Newcastle to win at home against Qarabag. Tie's already done. I think they win this on the night as well.
Wow, this is very, very safe. 1.2. Alain?
Real Madrid to win at home against Benfica, odds 1.50.
Aka, Tom?
Yeah, a few of my safe bets have struggled recently, so I've gone super safe this week. But I have gone wild. I have gone wild on my ACCA. There is 8 games, and I've gone for 6 wins, specifically 6 home wins. Newcastle, PSG, Real Madrid, Inter, Atleti, and Leverkusen all to win at home 5.92.
Wow, 6-fold. I think you broke a record right now in our shows. Alain, your ACCA?
Bayer Leverkusen win at home against Olympiacos. Atalanta over 1.5 goals in the game. Inter winning against Bodo at home. And Real Madrid Benfica. Real Madrid winning with 1.5 goals in the game, odds 7.45.
There you go, really high odds for Alain Saka. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Alain. Bye-bye.
Ciao.